Hi guys, welcome back to the Anfield View. Hope you're all keeping well. A chance to catch up with you guys and to discuss some big issues for Liverpool, really surrounding sort of the overall progress of the squad, really with a view to next year. I thought now would be a pretty good time to really sort of discuss some of them, you guys. So I hope you all enjoy. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit that bell if that even still exists, or press the buzzer, whatever it is on YouTube these days. And yeah, just fundamentally just so you can be informed when the new videos come out, which saves you having to search around YouTube, doesn't it, on that front? So yeah, I want to really discuss the big issues, obviously surrounding Liverpool at the moment. I'm not going to go into like things like Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards' contract, and even Arnie Slot. I think all three of their contracts have only got a year left to run. Which, on one hand, it is obviously a big issue in terms of the sort of continuity at the club and those different elements. I think we'll park that one really for a summer sort of conversation when it becomes a little bit clearer as to really what's happening, really around the manager, albeit sort of the party line very much seems to be that he will be here for next year, but we shall see. Obviously on that front, being in the top five probably has a major bearing, on that side. I'm going to start off with one of Liverpool's issues, and that issue is on the squad size, something I've touched upon in a couple of the videos already. So I hope you guys will sort of bear with me a little bit on that. Um, you only have to look at our bench on pretty much on a weekly basis, which either has one goalkeeper or two backup goalkeepers on it. One backup keeper is obviously perfectly fine, as we found out. Unfortunately, we would have been on the weekend, but having two is a little bit crazy. If you have two backup keepers on the bench, then it screams you've got no depth whatsoever. And the very fact there can't be anybody in the youth team, or used to be the reserve team, that can actually take a spot on the bench. Really screams, one, you've got a massive injury crisis. We don't. Or two, you've got zero depth whatsoever. And I think the problem with that Liverpool have is that you look at it and say we've got an injury to, let's just say, Allison, Bradley, Endo. So you've got Allison, Bradley, Endo, Ekateke, Allison, Bradley, Endo, Ekateke, and Gomez. Are we missing anybody else out of that from the injury perspective? I'm sure somebody will say Kate Gordon, and then somebody will say Jaden Dans. Well, I'll put Gordon and Dans as youth prospects because they're not really much more than that at this point. So, of what I would class as senior players, really, you've got Allison, Bradley, Endo, Ekateke, and Gomez. That's only five injuries. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Allison's not. Whilst they end up being longer than you want, there tend to be niggling injuries that keep them out 4 weeks. Bradley's obviously in a long-term injury. Endo was fit for the vast majority of the first half, obviously since sort of January. He's been out, and obviously Ekateke, whilst he's going to be out for a lot of next year, has been fit for the vast majority of this year. And Gomez is sort of what Gomez is. He's fit for about 40% of the year, and seems to sort of remarkably miss quite a lot of games throughout the year, but they're all done in small increments. So the big issue, as I say, we're starting off with the first one, really is the squad size. Habitually, Liverpool, under the FSG mantra, and it's probably the best way to say it, they tend to keep the squad size relatively small, combination of managing costs, combination of the fact that some managers prefer to manage less senior players because it's easier to manage them because of managing minutes. Sometimes they all say it's because they want to bring youth through. In Jurgen's case, in all fairness to him, he did actually bring youth through. In Arnie's case, he's not bringing any youth through. Let's be honest. The only reason he's playing Rio now is because he's basically a budding superstar. But outside of him, Trainioni can barely find a minute on the pitch. And so whilst I'm not saying he should be always playing, I'm just saying that where's the next one? I'm not saying, it makes you even raise question marks to say, well, either our youth system is awful at the moment, or Arne Slot just is not bringing anybody through, really, because Trainioni was there when Jurgen. I think Trainioni may have got more minutes under Jurgen than he has under Art so far, on that front. And Rio was already let's be honest, most people knew of who Rio was when we bought him from Chelsea. So we can't really say we've made him. We didn't make Raheem Sterling. We brought Raheem Sterling from £1 million from QPR at 16. Didn't make Jordan Ibe either. I'm not saying he went on to great things. But these are youth prospects that we brought halfway along the line. It's a bit like it'll be the equivalent of Chelsea saying they made Cole Palmer. Well, they didn't make Cole Palmer. Man City made Cole Palmer. So it is what it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, on that front. So there is major question marks. At some point, the penny has to drop with the club that the squad size that they're going in with just isn't enough. Because every single season they're basically spinning the wheel of chance and hoping that it comes up with, good luck in terms of you win big with no injuries. And so it almost feels like a season with luck and no injuries, then we do well. And the season with bad luck and injuries, we don't do well. And the realities of this season, yeah, right, sure, you put a fit Allison, you put a fit Ekateke, you put a fit Isak in all season, then sure, Liverpool may well be challenging, a heck of a lot more. I'm not saying we'd be up there the title winners, but we would be a lot better. But equally, you can't expect to go the entire season without. That's only 5 injury players at the moment. I know people go, oh yeah, but Isak was out for ages. Yeah, but Ekateke was fit when so it would still be only 5. Bradley was fit for a fair proportion of this year as well. And Endo was for the first half. So we really haven't been blighted by injuries. We just choose to have a small squad, which for me flies against what's required, against the requirements for one, this league, but two, also multiple competitions. I think outside of that, you're looking at the next big issue would be Isak. Is the squad tailored to get the best out of Isak? As in, he fundamentally is like a Haaland in terms of he's there really to finish. He's not really there for the build up. It's a bit like what Torres. Torres was there fundamentally to get on the end of Gerrard's passes and finish clinically, and that's what Isak's really there to do. Is the squad really built for that? I don't know would be the answer, because realistically, you look at it and say, well, who is threading those balls through the middle for him to run on to finish? We look at it and say, well, is it meant to be Wirtz and Frimpong that put the balls in from the wide, or is it somebody who's meant to be threading the needle, of that pass like we used to do with Torres for him to run on to finish? But the problem is that I wouldn't say anybody in that midfield is necessarily a world beater in terms of those types of passes. Fair play to Endo, he did a great pass on the weekend, but it's not like we see that many of those caliber of passes week in, week out. So there is a question mark of have we built a team that's capable of getting the best for Isak? I don't think when people say he's only had a certain amount of touches. Frankly, he's designed to be Haaland. He's designed to basically just be an out and out finisher. He's not somebody that really is anything else. So I do think we have to sit down and really look at what do we need to create the opportunity for Isak. Yeah, sure, he needs to create something for himself, but he's not Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez created half of the opportunities for himself. Then the other opportunities created by the likes of Sterling, the likes of Gerrard. And Isak isn't going to create his own chances. He's going to need the supply from either the left back or the right back. Don't really have, Salah can, obviously Salah's on an off season, so his creativity is not, whilst he's finishing a bit better recent times, there really just isn't a huge amount coming from the team in terms of creativity. So you could say, oh, well, next year when he's fully fit, we're going to see a lot more. I'm not questioning Isak's ability. I'm just questioning whether at the moment we have the right players there to actually create the opportunities that really get on the end of, whether it's crosses coming in from out wide or somebody who can really thread the needle for Isak's runs. Do we have that midfield who can do that? It's not really Gravenberch's skill set. It's not really Szoboszlai's skill set. It's not, Szoboszlai more somebody brings the ball, drives forward, he may be the odd sort of pass in and small pass in and around the box, but he's not really a sort of 20-yard thread of the needle pass person that Gerrard or Alonso could do. And frankly, it's not really McAllister's skill set either. So I know people will say, well, that's what Wirtz is for. That's the idea. That's the idea of why he plays Wirtz, in central midfield. So he can be the person that really does do that. I don't think Wirtz is somebody one that we can have in central midfield because he's too lightweight and it makes us, unless we got Casado or something, which we don't, but unless we have Casado alongside him, it just ruins the balance of the central midfield. I still don't think he's the player that's going to thread the balls from deep to Isak. I think he needs. I mean, I can see a world where if you drop Wirtz into the 10 and he comes, let's just say somebody like Szoboszlai passes the ball to him in just after the sort of halfway line between there and obviously their box, and he then threads the ball forward to Isak. I can see a world in which, I can see the vision of Wirtz to Isak goal. But I think for that to happen, I don't think Wirtz can be in central midfield. I think he has to be a 10 that drops back a bit like Firmino. Firmino used to come back, get the ball, put the ball wide, etc., and feed in the likes of Mo and Mane. So I think that's really, I've sort of just discussed a little bit of Wirtz there, but that leads nicely onto Wirtz. How do we get the best out of Wirtz? Fundamentally, we have to look at how he plays at the moment with the teams. How did he play at Leverkusen? How does he play for Germany so amazingly well? When he plays for us, he's not even a shadow of that player. I think we really have to look hard at that because I don't think we're doing best for ourselves or best for him by trying to shoehorn him into a way that's covering sort of it's basically a little bit, pardon for half-arsing it, isn't it? Let's be honest. You can't be a little bit pregnant, isn't it? Although my tummy would say I am, but you can't be a little bit pregnant in that respect. It's a little bit like we're trying to do and trying to a little bit keep the back door shut in terms of making sure we don't let in goals. We're trying to a little bit create up front, and we're sort of not really achieving the best of anything at the moment. We're sort of doing a hybrid of everything to try and scramble away to the end of the season, which I'm all for just to get in the top 5 and really sort of calibrate at the end of the year. But I think from Wirtz's perspective, we do have to sit down and really work out what we're trying to do with him. He isn't a central midfielder. I know how Dutch style managers want to play. I know how Arnie wants to play, but it won't work. His idealistic style of Dutch style in the Premier League won't work. His hybrid style, the hybrid elements that he mixed in with Jurgen Klopp's sort of system and squad that was already in place worked. This sort of roadmap of what he's trying to create in his style, I don't think the Dutch style can work in the Premier League. So I think he has to be a bit more pragmatic and a little bit have more awareness of what's required to essentially achieve the overall objective, which for Liverpool is winning trophies and then success, and then a bit of entertainment would be a novelty this season, isn't it? Even though we're very grateful for a win on the weekend, so a bit of gratitude led there. As I say, that led onto the system. What is the best system? What is the best system to win? First of all, we've got to work out what is the best system to achieve the objective, which is winning trophies. What is the best system for the players that we've currently got? What is this? Then that feeds into the players that we do buy to fit that system. I think we've got a real weird mesh of players at the moment, and I still can't just see where everybody's meant to be. So there needs to be some sort of clarity of thought as to where we're going and what we're trying to do. And I'm just praying to God it's not an out-and-out Dutch style way, because as I say, I think if it was that way, I think he's seen enough from this year. We'll find out in the transfer window. If we don't see a defensive midfielder and we don't see a pacey winger, then we know full well he's still trying to sort of dig his heels and do it his way. But if we do see a defensive midfielder and we do see a couple of pacey wingers, then we can see, okay, well, maybe Slot and the recruitment team have seen the error of their ways, and sort of basically doing what's best for business in terms of getting the results and not just doing what's the way in which he wants his team to be. I think there's some issues regarding culture with so many players that are leaving. the club. We've got Salah going, you've got Robbo going, question marks on other players potentially going this summer. We're going to end up with the old culture that was built, under sort of Klopp, sort of essentially going with only Virgil and Alisson really left. We really do need the likes of Jones to stay. We need people to keep a certain culture and mindset and that willing determination, that sort of, mentality. We're not mentality monsters anymore. We're more like a silky ballerina in terms of how the team's, sort of built up. But there's a world in which, Szoboszlai can still bring that. McAllister, when he's on, as I touched in a few other videos, I'm not sure where the future of McAllister really lies, but I do think we have to have a tiny bit, even an extra 30% of mentality monsters sort of kept within the club, that winning mindset kept within the club. So I do think there is an issue in terms of keeping that culture in place as we move and sort of evolve into this new version of Liverpool under Slot or whoever else takes over after him. We do, otherwise you can find yourself drifting like Man United have done, where you lose your identity, you lose your culture, you lose the mindset, and then eventually you end up not getting the right talent of player on top of that. So it is key. The last issue is really, well, what we can do with injury-prone players. What do we do with Bradley? What do we do with Gomez? There's only so. First of all, we can't have a small squad. I've addressed that at the beginning. We have to have a squad that's fit for purpose, fit for the Premier League, and fit for all the trophies that we compete in. And we're at least 4 or 5 senior players short every single season. That needs to be addressed, and not constantly rolling as I say, the wheel of chance and hoping that we win big by not getting injuries. And I think we've just been a little bit like, well, if we get lucky, we do well, and if we don't get lucky, we won't. I don't think we can do that. I also think we can limit how you don't have to have an insanely big squad if you've got players that just aren't always injury prone. What do we do with Bradley? What do we do with Gomez? I don't know. The ultimate answer is I don't know. All I know is that for a very, very long time now, Gabriel's is constantly injury prone, and for at least 2 years now, at least 2.5, maybe even all of his career, Bradley's been injury prone. I hate saying it, as both very talented players and both very valuable to the squad, but there is a question mark on, well, you can't just keep people around forever and ever and ever and ever if they're only turning up for sort of 30 or 40% of the year, because essentially it's taken up 2 spots in the squad where you could have 2 other players that would be fit more often, which would mean people like Szoboszlai wouldn't be covering at right back, which would mean he'd spend more time in midfield. And they're all interlinked, aren't they, on that front, guys? So it'd be great to hear your thoughts. As I say, that's a small video, really, in terms of highlighting Liverpool's big issues. We've covered the strength. I still think there's issues regarding strength, speed, age, of the squad. Well, I'll be interested to see, whether we've got the right balance of that, when it comes to the summer. We've covered the squad size. We've covered Isak, Verts, the system, culture, injury-prone players. There's plenty of upsides of the squad. We have world-beating talent. We have skillful talent. We have some young talent. So we've got a good basis to build from. The question is, the right pieces of the puzzle that come next are crucial. If those pieces are right, they can elevate these pieces over here to the levels they can be. World-class stars with the right pieces here gel together could create a title-winning team. The wrong pieces added here, or not enough pieces added here, added to just them over here, will equal the same season as this season. So great to hear your thoughts, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Have a great end to the week. Take care. Bye-bye.